Good morning, dear students. Today we shall see a new chapter, that is chapter 6, which is based on logo. The title of the chapter is Working with MSW Logo. Here MSW stands for Microsoft Windows logo. So let us start our new chapter with what is a logo, and then we will see who has designed this particular logo, and then we will go in deep details as to how to draw simple figures, perform some kind of calculations, and display some text messages. So here Microsoft Windows logo, or simply MSW logo, is actually a computer programming language. It stands for logic oriented, graphic oriented language. It is also called as language of graphic oriented. So this particular programming language was basically designed by a famous American mathematician named as SEYMOUR PAPERT in 1967. So basically it is also called the Turtle's programming language. Why? Because here it is due to turtle, the triangle shape, that plays a very vital role in displaying all the figures through some kind of graphics. So it also allows us to draw simple figures, perform calculations, and then display some simple text messages. So let us now go through some of the components that is associated with this particular language MSW logo. The next slide we will talk about what are the components that are associated with this particular programming language. So here basically we will learn about what are the components that are associated with a particular program, which is logo. So here in this particular software, or in this particular program, we can find a different components that are associated with this particular language. So the very first part is the title bar, next is the menu bar, we have graphics screen, we have commander window, we have input box, output box, and the control buttons. These are some of the components that are associated with this particular language. So we will see each one of them. What does this mean in the very next slide. Here now let us go through the overview of these particular components. Here in this particular screen we can see two different windows. The topmost part of the window is basically a graphic screen, and the down part window, this is actually a commander window. We have two windows which plays a very vital role in displaying as well as in giving some commands, because logo is a command based programming language, and it is through programming we can get some graphical representations of some shapes, and then we can also go for giving some kind of mathematical calculations. So let us see where does those components actually reside. The topmost part of this particular window, here we can see MSW logo screen. This MSW logo screen part is nothing but the title bar. What actually a title bar is? A title bar displays the name of a program. Here the name of the program is MSW logo. That is why it is named as title bar. The very next, just below the title bar, we have the menu bar. It is called menu bar, Under the menu bar we have file, we have bitmap, we have save, we have zoom, we have help. There are so many options inside this menu bars. We will see each one of them in the coming classes. Just below the menu bar we have a white color area. The background of this particular area is white. This particular white area is nothing but a graphic screen. It is called graphic screen. It is the white blank area, and at the center of the white blank area we find a small triangle in the center. This particular small triangle is known as turtle. So just below the screen bar, that means the graphic screen, we have the commander window. But remember, on the graphic screen we can see all the graphical representation, the drawing, the figures, the shapes. Those are drawn with the help of commands that are used inside the commander window. There are commands that are used inside the commander window, and it is based on these commands there will be a representation of some graphics on the graphic screen. That is why these two windows plays a very important part in displaying as well as in giving some commands in our program. So just below the commander window, this particular place is known as the output box. The output box actually displays all the recall list. Here recall means all those commands that we type are all displayed on this particular box, which is known as output box. Next, just below the output box, we have a small rectangular space there. This rectangular space is known as input box. So inside the input box we will be typing all the commands that are necessary for representing them on a graphic screen. Next, as I have said, on the graphic screen there is a triangle, small triangle shape, which is known as turtle. This turtle is displayed at the center. So while inputting some commands, this triangle will be moving from one place to another place based on our input commands. So if we input some commands, it is based on these commands, the turtle will be moving from one place to another place. The last part, which is the very important part, here this part is known as your control buttons. Here we have 8 different controls. 8 different control buttons. The first one is hold, pause, step, execute, trace, status, reset, and add all. Here add all stands for edit all. So let me just tell brief about what does each of these control buttons mean. Here hold means this button immediately stops logo from processing any further actions. It will stop from processing any further action, the hold button. Next we have pause. What does pause mean here? The pause button stops logo so that you can make some changes or whatever we wish to make. If we wish to make some changes, we can pause and then go for making some changes. Next we have step. What does step means here? The step button turns on single stepping for debugging our programs. Here single stepping for debugging our program means it will start checking for some errors at a single step. checking for some errors during our program at a single step. That is why this particular button is very useful. Next we have trace. What does trace means here? This particular button, when we press this particular button, it turns on tracing for a debugging programs. Again the same thing with step. Here it traces for a particular error in a program, whereas the previous one step, it also checks for some errors in a program at a single step. So there is a difference between a step and a trace. The trace goes for tracing for some errors. Tracing means finding out some errors, whereas step also does the same work, finding some errors but at a single step. So this is the difference between step and trace. Next, status. What does status means? Here it actually displays a small status window that actually shows what the logo is up to. It shows the status of what up to the logo is all about. If the logo has drawn something, in which axis, in which x-axis or y-axis it has drawn something, okay, so all the details will be displayed by this particular window about what the logo is representing right now. If the logo is representing something, some representation of some graphs, so based on that particular graphs, a particular status can be seen by clicking on this particular button, status button. Next we have reset. The reset button is just like a clear screen. The clear screen command we will see in the coming classes, but it seems to be working exactly same like the clear screen command. The reset seems to be exactly same like clear screen, which means it will reset the entire drawings and then come back to its home position. Suppose we have drawn something on the graphics screen. If we have drawn something on the graphics screen and then if we press a reset button, the entire thing will be erased and then it will be back to its home position. The turtle will be back to its home position. So the turtle will be back to its home position using the reset, which is exactly same like a clear screen command, which we will be discussing in the coming classes. And then we have execute command. What does execute means? Execute means to run. Here execute means to run. What to run? If we type some commands on the input box and then if we click on the execute, so the program will run. The turtle will start to execute based on the input box command, based on the command that we have given on the input box. So once we give commands to the input box and then we execute, the program will start to run. This is all about execute. So in simple words we can say that execute means to run our program. That means to run the commands that we have typed on the input box. The last control button is Add All. Add All stands for Edit All. Here Edit All options, when we click on the Edit All options, a small editor window will appear. This particular programming aspects will be shown to you in the coming classes, but as of now you just try to understand that Add All means when you click on this particular options, we can set a particular program. We can set a particular program and we can save a particular program, and then we can execute this particular program by typing a single word or a two in the input box. I will show you about this particular Add All options in the coming classes. So this is all about your overview of the components that is associated with MSW logo. So in the next class we will talk about logo primitives. These logo primitives basically mean about the logo commands. We will talk about the commands that we are going to use in our entire program so that we can execute or we can run some graphical representations on the graphics screen. So it is based on these logo commands we will be representing some drawings on our graphics screen. So in the coming class I shall prepare another video explaining about the logo commands, what are each commands stands for, or what it works, how it works, everything I will be discussing in the coming classes. So for today, till this much, you try to brush up your old courses and get some basic knowledge about logo and its components. So thank you. See you in the next class.